Welcome to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here today with Toni Will. Toni is coming to us from Michigan. Welcome, Toni.
Hi, thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, great to have you. Thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate it. So, today's theme is authentic leadership, courage, and living life on your terms. So, we're going to introduce you with your slideshow, and then we will come right back to interview Toni Will. Toni Will is a trailblazing leader, speaker, and author dedicated to empowering women to thrive in male dominated industries and embrace an alcohol free lifestyle. As the first female general manager in the history of the ECHL's Kalamazoo Wings men's AA professional hockey team, Toni has built a reputation for breaking barriers, driving growth, and inspiring others through authentic leadership. A sought-after keynote speaker, Toni captivates audience with her engaging storytelling and practical strategies for navigating leadership challenges, cultivating confidence, and redefining success on her own terms. She has spoken at conferences across the country, including TEDx, and will release her first book on March 1st, 2026. Toni's work extends beyond sports and business. She's passionate about sparking conversations around living alcohol free, challenging societal norms, and empowering individuals to make choices that align with their values. Her podcast, Women In, showcases inspiring stories from women across industries, fostering connection, mentorship, and growth. Whether she's consulting with professional sports teams, speaking to corporate leaders, or guiding individuals through personal transformation, Toni's mission is clear: to inspire courage, authenticity, and possibility. At the end of the episode, Toni will share details about her upcoming conference, Empower Her, HER. Welcome, Toni, to the show.
Thank you. How cool is that? That's an intro for the slides and everything. That's cool.
I know it's our new feature. I love it. Except for I want to watch it, and I'm trying to focus on your intro.
I know that's
Um,
hard.
I know, right? So before we get into, I had ChatGPT come up with some really great questions. But in the meantime, I always like to start and end with two things. The first, we're going to start with how the heck did you get started? I mean, you do so much. So when you were growing up, where did you grow up and how did you get from where you were to where you are today?
Yeah, wow, that is a big question. Well, one thing has stayed the same. I'm born and raised here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, so I never left. And I grew up on a little lake called Indian Lake in Vicksburg, which is just south of Kalamazoo. Pretty idyllic childhood. I was a daughter of an entrepreneur and a school teacher, and I had a little brother. And really, it was just a pretty Midwestern upbringing in the 80s. I went on to Western Michigan University for my undergrad in business management and started a career in banking. And so retail banking. And back in, yeah, it depends. Like I'm in the Midwest, so there's different banks, but essentially there was Old Kent Bank, which became Fifth Third, and then National City, which became PNC. And I was in charge of each branch, helping those teams navigate bank mergers, along with cutting my teeth as a young 20 something leader in sales and finances. And not really understanding what great training that was at the time, because when you're handling people's finances, it's such a sensitive topic beyond someone's healthcare. So I really was able to come in an age of sales and leadership at a time it was just super informative and really helped me for what was to come. I spent 13 years in that industry, and I really was looking for change. I tend to get antsy. And as you can tell by my bio, I have my hands on a lot of things. And I thought I would rather do something a little bit more community focused. So I had the opportunity to move within our Chamber of Commerce here in Kalamazoo. It was in our economic development agency, and they asked me if I'd come run this initiative. And I said yes. And I loved what I did externally with small business. Loved it, loved it. You know, ribbon cuttings, networking, advocacy, helping these small businesses grow. But the leadership and the culture inside the organization was highly toxic. And so I tried to hold on for 2 years. I guess that's the Gen X in me. But I made it about 20 months before we parted ways. And then I accidentally fell into hockey shortly thereafter. I actually applied for a job in a high-end fashion boutique inside the Marquis Hotel. Yeah, I love fashion, and I thought, "Oh, I'll be a store manager." And they were like, "You're gonna be bored, you're overqualified." I said, "I know, it's okay, I don't wanna be the face of anything." At the time, my kids were younger, and they said, "Well, we wanna keep talent within our organization, we'll call you back." So they did, they called me back 3 weeks later, and they said, "We've got something we think is perfect for you." I said, "Okay, what's that?" And they said, "The Kalamazoo Wings." And I said, "The hockey team?" And they said, "Yeah," because I grew up here, I went to games, periodically. I've probably been to 5 in the 36 years of my life at that point, and my response was, "They're still around?" And they said, "Well, yeah." It's a 41-year-old franchise at the time, and so or 40, yeah, and so they said to me that they were like, "Yeah, we want someone to come in and turn this around. You know business, you know how to build culture and teams, you know how to sell, and you love Kalamazoo." And my next response was, and I literally said, I'm like, "I don't know shit about hockey." And they laughed. I said, "I'm not trying to make you laugh, I'm just telling you the truth. I don't see it." And, they saw something in me I didn't, because we know how the story ends. I've been here 11 years now, and it's the best job I never knew I wanted. And I had no idea at the time, how much my gender would play a role in men's professional hockey, because I didn't think about it that way. And, yeah, it's been quite the journey.
That's incredible. So you were just going to pop on over to fashion for a little bit and in a whole different pivot. And I always say you never, sometimes you're just in motion, you're in movement, and something takes you off. And even though you're going this way, it steers you this way, and then it works. And obviously it did. So let's talk about breaking barriers in male dominated industries, courage, leadership, and equality. What were the defining moments that helped you build confidence as the first female GM in the ECHL?
Yeah, this is a great question, because I get asked this a lot about how do you have the confidence to do this, and I could use the framework I'm going to give, or examples, better language and framework, on how I've built confidence over the years. So the short answer is I set goals and I accomplish them. It could be any goal. So it could be, I'm going to give a big example first, and I'll probably drill it down day to day. So I had a goal, I don't know, 8 years ago. I wanted to do a Ironman triathlon, and so, and for anyone who doesn't know what an Ironman is, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and then you run a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, and you have about 17 hours to do it. And so I hired a coach and I was training for a year. But it's not like you go and you just do the race. You're working, you're training and you're leading up to it. You're starting with shorter runs and shorter swims and shorter bikes. You kind of gain confidence, and then they get longer as time goes on. So you're hitting these milestones, and it's helping you build confidence. So when you hit the start line a year later, you're like, "Okay, I can string this all together." And that's what I would say has been impactful, that example in my business world. And so I was like, okay, I need to go to an expert. So in my Ironman example, the coach was the expert. So who can I learn from that is in this industry, where I can accomplish these small goals that lead to the big goal? Like home opener. We open up here in a couple days. And so I need to find the other Tonys in our league and meet with them. And we're all over the country in Canada. So I started with our division, and I went to go meet with the other general managers and learn from them in their communities, in Cincinnati, in Indianapolis, in Wheeling, in Brampton, up in Toronto when we had a team there. And I would go meet with these individuals and then, learn, bring that back to Kalamazoo and start to innovate that. And so it was this tiny wins that helped
Mhm.
build confidence to those big results, like average attendance growing, revenues growing. We became award winning for different initiatives we've been doing. So it's the tiny wins that lead to the confidence in execution. And a big part of it is actually executing the plan, because that'll
Right.
help you be confident.
Absolutely. Well, that is amazing. It's crazy. And how were you received by all of the men in the industry? Like when you came in as the first female, how was your entry and greeting into that new world?
Yeah, so there's 2 camps. There's the league side of my job. So there's 32 teams in the league. Each team has a GM or a president. That room, those individuals, it wasn't a big deal. It was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay, whatever." Then there's the fan side, season ticket holders, community. That was totally different and still is to this day. Um, it there it's an old boys club, in hockey. It's 97% white male, and the fans, they treat me differently because I'm a woman. They think they can approach me differently.
Mhm.
Um, they speak to me sometimes, and it's not all of them, it's just some, in a way that it's, "Oh, she doesn't know," or, I get mansplained too, periodically. Doesn't It happens. So, there have been instances on both the league side, on the board of governors, which I'm the governor for the team. That's how our governance, it's like a board of directors. So, I've had issues there, I've had issues with fans. In the 11 years, is it getting better? Hmm, slowly, but not as
Well,
quickly as I would like to, but I do a lot to try to evoke change and talk about it, 'cause there are other women in this league, but they're not as outspoken as I am.
so how do you handle resistance or bias in the early years and still today?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. The first way is, like, a lot of it's on social media. And so there's keyboard warriors. I don't look at it anymore
Mhm.
because I just know it's all BS. And unless they wanna come say it to my face, which they don't, then I stop looking at it. Our PR director, he handles all that. So I had to stop doing that. I finally, after 10 years last year, I stopped because it was getting bad. The other thing is really through allyship, and, whether it's, my allies here at the arena or the greater league, my other GM presidents, governors. I do have a lot of good, strong relationships, and really call these individuals and talk through the scenarios I'm running into. And so I certainly don't go at it alone.
Mhm.
And just reminding myself that sports is a different beast because people feel irrationally emotional about their favorite sports teams.
That
And
is
and that's what makes me different as a GM. Because I'm not a traditional general manager, recruits players and works on the hockey ops side as well as the business side. At this level of hockey, we're 3 tiers. We're the NHL, the AHL, and then the ECHL, and that's the league the Kalamazoo Wings are in. So our players move up and down this system. The GMs at my level only do business. And then the hockey ops and head coach, they do the player piece. So I am not emotionally attached to what's happening on the ice as a business leader, and that's what makes me different. And fans do not like that. But that's why we've been successful too, because I'm not emotionally attached. It's actually a strength, not a weakness.
absolutely a strength. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, if you were being so emotional about it, we had to win and you were getting mad. And no, I think it's a perfect way to execute your job. So what
Mhm.
advice do women stepping into leadership roles in spaces that have been historically excluded to them?
So, number 1, like, these are a couple simple things. And, whenever I introduce myself, I use my first and last name every single time. And shake hands, but it sounds simple, but and, look these gentlemen in the eye, but it matters. It really
Right.
does matter, creating that authority of, like, "No, I'm a confident woman," setting the stage that way. Number 2, whenever I sit in any meeting, if the head of the table seat is open, I'll sit there.
Good for you.
I don't care, like, I did it today. Now, because what I see some women do, especially if there's seats around the perimeter of the room in addition to the table, I see some women sit at the perimeter, and I'm like, "No, there's seats at the actual table." It doesn't have to be at the head though, but, like, sit at the table. So those are a couple practical things, because sometimes as women, and especially in male-dominated areas, we feel that imposter syndrome. So if we can do some of these other things, like introducing ourselves with our full name, sitting at the head of the table, those are gonna help build confidence to be like, "Yes, I belong here." And so I start with the practical because then it really moves into relationship building, which I think is
Mhm.
really, no matter what industry you're in.
Absolutely. No, it's just walk into a room, say hello to everyone, shake hands, and look them in the eye. That's great. So the takeaway, you don't need permission to lead. Your authenticity is your strength. So topic two, redefining success and leadership. Authenticity, balance, growth. What does authentic leadership mean to you?
I authenticity is one of my core values. That means I am the exact same Tony, whether you are at this hockey game with me, you run into me at the grocery store, you are at my house, you see me on stage speaking, you're listening to my podcast, whatever. I'm the exact same person no matter where you run into me. And, that I don't see that a lot in our world. I see and,
Right.
and so I've been really fighting, especially for women, to embrace who they are without feeling like we have to put on some sort of facade. I am flawed. I am, I'm a feisty Italian. Like, I'm quirky and I'm a lot of things, but I embrace all of that because
Right.
I feel like if I'm my whole person, especially as a leader, if I bring the real authentic whole Tony to my job, then my staff can do the same. And and then they feel more comfortable, they perform better. The culture here just thrives and we achieve more when we are authentic and a whole person and we bring our own distinct personalities to the work we do. So, I mean, that's the biggest part for me, and that's a lot about what my book is about. Like, I share stories about my life that aren't fun, but I share the how, and I'm authentic and how it's led me to where I'm at today.
Well, that's so funny because the next question is, how has your definition of success evolved over time?
Oh gosh. You know, yeah, so it certainly has evolved over time. I kinda don't really I have goals. I'm just thinking about how I used to define success. I think success in my 20s was different, and it was different than in my 30s. In my 20s, it was about getting a full-time job, buying a home, starting a family, and then my goals shifted because I did that, and in my 30s, it was about doing triathlons or changing careers and, ending a marriage. I did that, so the goals kinda shift and the definition of success shifts, and I would say right now, I'm at this stage where I'm able to accomplish my goals and, each check mark, an Ironman, check, writing a book, check, but then something else will come along, and I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, that's a new definition for success for me right now, and let's see if I get there." Sometimes I don't accomplish I'm not successful in an endeavor, but I really think that's a great thing because there's lessons to be learned when we don't often, when we don't hit that goal or we don't get that success. There's actually a great example with the board of governors in this league. One of my big goals was to be the first chairwoman of the board. And I don't think that's going to happen in my tenure of working in pro hockey. I don't know when I'm leaving or retiring per se, but it just isn't looking like it's going to be me as the first woman, which is totally fine. But see, that's a goal where I'm like, it used to be my definition of success and now it's not. So I'm like, let me move to a different definition.
Right. I think it's we're allowed. Our goals change. At one point we think it's this and then it evolves and then that's not as important. And I find it interesting though, because sometimes I think, oh, I really want to do that. And then when I get a little closer and I see a little bit more into it, I'm like, yeah, that's not what I want to do. So I think it's just, but it helps us in momentum. And my book is Mindset in Motion. And so I think once you're in momentum, then obviously it'll take you a different way, and it probably has. So, what small practices help you stay grounded as a leader and a human being? Because you are very busy.
Yeah. So the first practice, I labeled it set the table for the day.
Oh,
And
love
what
that.
that means, yeah, I literally I get up, I have a cup of coffee, I watch some mindless television, and then I work out, I meditate, I eat a healthy breakfast, I read, and by reading, it's usually in Audible, when I'm driving to work. I do read actual books, I actually do that at night. And then, gratitude practice. And so once those things, like, as I set that table for the day for myself, I'm very grounded in ready to just tackle the day. It can go left, right, center, straight, sideways, whatever. But I've done those things to take care of me, and that helps me feel grounded, at peace, ready to tackle what's coming at me.
Love it. Love it. So true success is defined by alignment, not achievement alone. Number three, living alcohol free and leading by example. What led you to embrace an alcohol free lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, quite simply, I didn't like my relationship with alcohol. I just felt like I went through a divorce in my late 20s. I was almost 30, and I could tell I couldn't label it back then, but
Mhm.
it went from take it or leave it to coping. And then my 30s became a decade of work hard, play hard. And, I was someone that would drink, I'd have a glass or 2 of wine at night and think nothing of it, and then 5 years had passed, and I've been doing that every single night for 5 years, for half a decade, and then those bottles of wine became boxes because you can't see like, how bad how much you're drinking. You don't have to go back to the store as much, and then those boxes for me became blackouts, and, those are scary, and I just didn't it didn't align with my core values. Like, I'm someone that's out there literally running marathons, doing Ironmans, but I'm saying, "Oh, I can do this to justify that." It made well, in hindsight, it made no sense. And
Right.
so October 12th of 2020, at the beginning-ish of the pandemic, I was, uh, I was up north on a girls' trip, up north in Michigan on a girls' trip, and I'm just sitting around the bonfire, and I've been drinking all day, and I'm like, "What am I doing? Like, what am I doing? I don't wanna be this person," and I didn't like how I acted when I was drinking, and, I just didn't feel authentic. So, I decided that I was gonna put myself in a 30-day timeout, and, I called it a Tony timeout because I like alliteration, and so I took a 30-day break. I had tried to stop off and on in years past. I had tried AA, I had tried, outpatient therapy, I tried different things, and those methodologies didn't work for me, so I was looking for something more modern, and I found different that world had come a long way. And so I found a book called This Naked Mind by Annie Grace. I read the book, joined a community, and then I thought, "Oh, I'll do 30. I did 30 days and I was like, I'll do 21 more days." And so as of last week, I was 5 years alcohol free.
Oh,
And
that's
thanks. Yeah, it's a bit I don't like to sometimes it sounds like I'm oversimplifying it when I like recall the last 5 years of it, but it was hard. I mean, our culture,
right.
glorifies alcohol. There's a lot of stigmas that come from, choosing not to drink. But it's a health and wellness decision for me, and so I decided I was not going to be anonymous about it. That I was going to heal out loud and be a role model. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's awesome. So, because this is societal roles are as they are, can you, if someone's listening to who's going through this or would like to go through it, what were some tricks or things that you did to be out in public and not have someone say, "Oh, do you want a cocktail?" And you're like, "No," and practically get in a fight with them because you're like, "No, I'm good." So, what advice can you give?
So, yeah, this is gonna be different for everyone. I'm gonna tell you how I tackled it.
Sure.
I decided, after 80 days of not drinking. Now, remember, this was in October of 2020, so the world was not as open, depending on what state you lived in. But I decided that I was going to post on social media that I had taken a break from drinking. And I never say forever. I don't even say it now. But I just was like, I decide I'm 80 days, I'm alcohol free. I changed the language. It's not that I don't subscribe to the term alcoholic. And actually it's not even recognized by the CDC. It's alcohol use disorder. But I use the term alcohol free. It feels empowering to me, or a non-drinker. And I just like put it out there on social as a way to kind of close a loophole for me, because the more people that know, the less likely I'm to go back.
Right.
And when people see that know me, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Tony's not drinking." So it's not like I had to have individual conversations when I ran
Right.
into people.
Right.
So that's one way. But if you're like, "There's no freaking way I'm posting this on social, Tony," I respect that too.
Right.
Um, It is really, and this might feel goofy for some, but it works. It's practicing saying what makes you feel comfortable out loud in front of the mirror before you leave, like role playing. And
Right.
when someone says, "Hey, I got you this glass of wine," and you're gonna be like, "Oh, no, thank you. I'm on a health and wellness kick right now. I'm just going to grab a water instead."
Right.
Now,
That's
that
it's
just rolled off my tongue, but I've been at this for a while. So,
Right. So prepare something so when you go out, you're not blindsided and it makes it more uncomfortable. I think that's great. So we're going to go to commercial break and we will be right back with Toni Will.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical. Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Welcome back to Mastering the Art of Success. I'm your host, Debbie DiMaggio. We are here with Toni Will from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So thank you so much. It's so fun talking with you. So we're going to talk about topic 4, courage, confidence, and overcoming fear. So how do you move through fear when stepping into new opportunities?
so fear, yeah, fear's a fun topic. I kind of say it tongue in cheek, but I get curious. I really
Mm,
do. I'm a learner. And so it's like, okay, I ask myself, what am I afraid of? And where can I learn more about this so I can really decide if I'm afraid because I just don't know, or maybe I'm afraid because it's just something I don't want to do. But I like to find it, it kind of goes back to my leadership pillar of finding an expert and learning from them and then making some decisions from there, or reading books. I love to read books. I read my age every year. So this year I'm 47. I'll read 47 books. And through that, it's the ability to quiet those inner narrator, the thoughts, because a lot of the thoughts we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. Most of it's not true. It's just our brain doing what our brain's supposed to do, which is protect us. And what happens when it protects us, it can create some fears in situations, and a lot of times it's just because we don't know. So learning, learning, learning.
I agree. Lifelong learning. There's nothing better than that. And there's so much. Can you share a story when vulnerability actually strengthened your leadership?
Yeah. So, okay, you mentioned in my bio, I did a TEDx a year ago. I never thought in a million years I'd be on that red dot talking about, I could see talking about sports, and my being a minority in sports, but not the second half of my TEDx, which was about choosing to live alcohol free. That was something I used to be so ashamed of. I carried so like something was wrong with me, and actually, and that's how I wind the talk up. It's actually a strength that I chose to talk
Absolutely.
about this out loud, and it felt empowering. And I'm so glad I decided choose that path, the unconventional path, I would definitely say, yeah, standing on that stage. And then, I think, I don't know how many views has been on the TEDx, but over 500,000. So, I mean, it's out there. There's no going back.
I mean, so many people have gone through that, and and it's so prevalent and it's so needed. So it appeals to, it crosses. So it's, people have different specialized TED Talks, but this kind of goes across all types of careers, all types of people's lives, all walks of life. So let's talk about the TED Talk. How did it happen? Where did you give
Mhm.
your TED and share a little bit about TED Talk to people?
Yeah, so TED is an organization where there are 20-minute talks, and you can go online, and they're just about one idea, essentially. And they've been going on for a long time, but it was never on my bucket list. So you kind of see a common theme in my life story. Like, I'm like, anything I plan to do is basically not how my life has worked out. And I think a lot of people's lives are like that. Um, yeah, one of my friends that I work with, she shot me over a screenshot from a LinkedIn post for TEDx Kalamazoo. And I'm like, oh, they have one of these here? I didn't think they would do one in Kalamazoo, but they did. And she goes, you should apply. And I'm like, okay. Because for me, it was easy. I'm like, I'll talk about my 6 leadership pillars. I'll talk about being a minority in men's hockey, and, really about lifting women up. It's something I'm super passionate about. And so I shot the coordinator an email, and he didn't respond to me for like 6 weeks. And I thought nothing of it. I was like, oh, he's busy, or they don't want me. It's okay. Like, I moved on. And he emailed me back later, and he was like, Toni, I'm so sorry. I had a family emergency, and we'd love for you to speak. And I said, oh, okay. And they said, but you have to really genuinely apply for it. And I go, oh, I didn't even know you applied for these things. That's how clueless I was. I literally thought people just were great orators and walked on the stage. Like, I watched a bunch of TED Talks before I even knew I was doing one. I don't know, I can be naive sometimes. So needless to say, I officially applied, and then I found out, I think it was 6 weeks later, in July of 2024, 20, no, 23. It doesn't matter the year, but I had 100 days to put together that talk that I did for 18 minutes. And they provide you a master class and coaches, and you rehearse the day before. And it was a phenomenal experience, and probably one of the hardest things I've done, because you write out the whole script. I have 7 pages. I wrote my entire speech with the help of the coaches and scriptwriter, and then I memorized the entire thing. Yeah.
That's the part, is memorizing. And it's, what is it, 15 minutes and with no prompts.
No prompts. Mine, yeah, you had 18 minutes and I used every single second. So 18 minutes, no prompts. Yeah, that was all. And it's hard because you want it to sound conversational. And I'm used to presenting and speaking publicly, but that was a whole different beast. It was really cool though, because it stretched me.
Right. Absolutely. And you're being held accountable by coaches, and that you've gotten accepted and you have a date.
Yeah, I
What
mean, I did.
You mentioned it before, and let's go back to it. Tell us about your five pillars of leadership.
Yeah, so it's 6, but we'll throw the 5th or the 6th one is an easy one, but
Who
I'll
knows?
say that. So 6
Just
leadership pillars. So where it just stems from was, one day my alma mater called me, and Western Michigan University, and they said, Toni, will you come speak to one of our business classes? And I said, sure, I'd be happy to. What do you want me to talk about? And they said, well, we want you to tell about the students how you turn this hockey franchise around. And I kind of laughed, because this was years ago, and I wouldn't have defined it as a full turnaround at that point, but I'm like, thank you for the compliment. But I'd be happy to. So I was sitting at this very desk, and I was like, how did I do this? Because my leadership was just, unconscious competence, is the, I guess, specific term. So I'm like, all right, well, let me write some notes down. So on a yellow Post-it note, I wrote 6 things I did. And I put that Post-it note in my purse, and I carried it around. And every time I gave a talk, I'd pull it out. So what it started was, the first one I mentioned is go to the experts. And I shared earlier how I did that. I visited the other teams in the league and learned from their president, GM, and then I brought those things back to Kalamazoo. In my TEDx, this is what I walk people through. And I also walk them through on alcohol. Like, how did I decide that when I chose to be alcohol free, like, how did I figure this all out? So I found experts, because you can apply this stuff both personally and professionally. Leadership pillar number 2 is innovate. So I take from what the experts share with me, and then I make it fit either for my community, in this sense for Kalamazoo for the hockey team, or for how I choose to live alcohol free and remove substances, because it doesn't have to be a one size fits all in business or pleasure. Leadership pillar number 3, I think this one's really important, and gets a bad rap, but make mistakes. The reason I think this is a pillar is we learn more from our mistakes than our successes because they hurt. And again, this goes back to authenticity. People want to be like, I got it right the first time, but the reality is, if everything was that easy, it's going to take forever to learn things. So I'm a big fan of mistakes. Leadership pillar number 4 is ask for forgiveness rather than permission. This very much speaks to the personality of the leader or the person. I'm definitely a rebel. I like to color outside the line, so to speak. And so it really is like, I tried different ticket packages. I tried different game night themes to draw new fans into hockey outside of just the traditional white male. And sometimes it's been embraced. We've won many awards over some of the initiatives we've done, like Dyeing the Ice Rainbow. We were awarded a Guinness World Record for the largest lightsaber battle for Star Wars night. Like, we've done some really cool things. Sometimes they're not popular, sometimes they are, but regardless, I'm willing to try it. And then on the alcohol side of things, that personality piece of no is a complete sentence. Like, sometimes not going to these alcohol centric events is okay. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not coming, I'm not drinking right now. No, you can just be you and not go. Like, no is a complete sentence. Leadership pillar number 5 is macro manage. I don't know anyone on the planet that likes to be micromanaged. So it's the opposite, right? It essentially boils down to this. With my staff and as the type of boss I am, it's these 3 powerful words of I trust you. And I really mean that. I trust them, and I want them to know that they can make these decisions. And if they want my guidance and mentorship, I'm certainly happy to do that. And I'm here for them. But they have an inner knowing too. Like, I'm not hiring just anyone off the street. So uh, and then leadership pillar number 6 is have fun.
Right.
As adults, we take ourselves so seriously sometimes. I just read this stat, Debbie, that like little kids will laugh 300 to 400 times a day. Any guess how many times adults laugh a day?
Gosh, once,
Yeah,
none.
it's like 10
Okay.
times. And yeah, when you think about that, like, why, let's have fun. So I actually build that into our business plans, like how we're going to have fun. And especially in this industry,
Right.
we're in sports entertainment. People are coming here to have fun. So we should be having fun.
Absolutely. No, that's so true. And I was laughing is just so important and having fun. And you shouldn't reserve your fun till the end of the workday. You should be enjoying what you do throughout the day. So you're going to perform better. Your people around you are going to perform better. Everyone's going to have fun. Sometimes you need to step back so you can get your work done, but it is important to have fun throughout the day and enjoy what you're doing. So I love that. I love the pillars. So, topic 5 is very close to your heart. So, mentorship, connection, and the power of women supporting women. And
Mhm.
this a little bit about what your empower will be leading up to at the end of this. So, your Women in podcast, Women in, and explain that title. Podcast highlights women across industries. What patterns do you see among women who rise?
Yeah, so women in dot dot dot. I put those dots there on purpose. So this stemmed from I'm on the steering committee for the National Sports Forum, which is a conference that sports employ people that work at any level of sports, any sport go to, and thousands of people go each year. And I'm on the steering committee, and I've been really working on lifting women in sports up, and it took some time to earn my way onto the main stage and do a super panel and I moderated this first ever all women super panel. This was 2 years ago. And it is a 40-year-old conference. So it was a big deal and it was so well received. And I felt so energized. I'm like, how do we keep this going? How do we keep these conversations going? And I took my dog for a walk and I came back and I'm like, I'm launching a podcast. And originally I was going to call it Women in Sports. And I thought, no, we have so many more identities than, and just for those of us women that do work in sports, but I'm like, I want to have all kinds of women on my podcast in all different industries. And I want to have men on my podcast too, because men came from women. The word men is in women, and it's all about inclusivity, not exclusivity. So that the dots represent, I asked this question, some not to all my guests, but sometimes depending on how the conversation goes, how do you fill in those dots? What are you a woman in? And that's how the podcast was born. I think I'm around 120 episodes in the last year and a half. I interviewed you, which is
Yes,
so much fun. And yeah, I've had everyone from the commissioner of this hockey league to um, authors to my neighbor across the lake, like and my husband, my kids. So we've really, I've really told some amazing stories, and I can't wait to keep doing it. It is so much fun.
it is fun. That's one of the reasons I started out my podcast is Mastering the Art of Real Estate. And then after a year and a half, it pivoted to Mastering the Art of Success, because what you do in real estate and what you do in other parts of either if you have a service product or brand, you do the same. We're all working to build relationships and be the best we can. So what patterns do you see among women who rise, or women, men, and men who rise?
Yeah. So this is a really good question. The pattern I see, generally speaking, they set goals, and we're hearing this pattern in me today as I even talk about it. They're goal setters and they talk about it.
Right.
Right. They're not keeping this stuff to themselves. And I know why people do that at times, because if they say it out loud, it's like, oh crap, now I got to do it. And so that pattern of saying it and then doing it is definitely what I see. People who execute for sure. Now, as a coach, because I have my own coaching business, this is where I typically see people fall down is they want to hit goals. They just don't know how to execute it, or they get in their own way by overthinking it. So yeah, those that are rising are setting goals, talking about it, and executing on them.
Absolutely. So how can women better support one another instead of competing?
Yeah. I start with mindset. It's all mindset. And by that, I mean, I have an abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset. So this is how I look at all this. Debbie, you and I both have podcasts. So I could sit there and say, oh, I'm in competition with Debbie because she has a podcast too. But no, there's only one Debbie DiMaggio in this world. There's only one Toni Will in this world. And let's say you and I both lived in California together. We both were real estate agents. We both were authors. We were both like basically the same person. It would still be an abundance mindset because you're you and I'm me. And so there's room for everyone. We're not competing with each other. I want to tell your story and lift you up. I want to tell the stories of the women behind me and the men behind me. And when I mean behind me, I mean younger than me, and lift them up. And because I think why do anything other than that? So a little altruistic, but that's how my mind works.
Oh, I agree. We created a tagline once where when I was writing a book, and I said, "We're people would think that we're real estate agents, so we're against each other." And I said, "No." And so I created, but I always talk about it. Realtors are colleagues, not we're colleagues, and we collaborate. We're not competitors. We have to work together. There's usually a listing and a buy side, and we work together to make it work. And we all are different. Each one of us is different. You and I do similar things, but we're also our unique, authentic self. I love that. So, what message would you like every woman listening to carry forward?
Yeah, I would love for them. It's like I talk about peacocks a lot with this, but peacock feathers. I want to see women spread their beautiful peacock feathers. A lot of times we have felt like we need to make ourselves small, and I like to see women really step into their authenticity, their empowerment, which is, I know we're going to talk about my conference in a second, but really pour into themselves, whatever that is, whether it's books or exercise or what they're eating or the people they're spending time with, and do the things that make them feel whole and powerful and make themselves big, spread those feathers. So that's the overall message I'd like to see for women.
I love that. I know because I was listening to something, or oh, I was watching Masterclass. Do you ever watch Masterclass?
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
I love. So one of the gals was talking about. She didn't say the word peacocking, but she said when you come into a room, own, make yourself big, don't make yourself small. And so it's very much like peacocking, but also sharing what you love. So let's talk about Empower. Where is it? How do people join? What's it about? Tell us how the program is going to be laid out.
So Empower Her is a 36-hour conference. It's in Kalamazoo, Michigan, in my hometown, because I love Kalamazoo and I want people to come visit. And so what we do over the day and a half is we come together. It starts with a VIP event in the Marquee Hotel in which I applied for a job and ended up in hockey. But we do the VIP event where we network, we eat great food, and then I'm going to be reading a chapter out of my book this year. This is a second annual conference. The next day, we are all together all day long. I don't do breakout sessions. It's a small boutique conference. We have different keynote speakers coming in, talking anything from business to leadership to lifestyle goals that we may have. I'm photographers coming in. We're doing headshots. We have a lunch around Kalamazoo, and then we move the event in the evening to the Kalamazoo Wings. They come over to the arena and they'll be attending our annual St. Patrick's Day game where we dye the ice green. And that game is sold out every year. And so we'll have a VIP experience here. Our head coach is going to come in and talk with the women. And we're going to have, more food and camaraderie and hockey. And then we get a picture on the green ice after the game.
Sounds fun. And who are some of the speakers that you have coming? Or
Me. Me right now. So,
oh,
so right now
we're
it'll be
some speakers. Okay.
looking at, but definitely me. And then I have some idea for some women locally that I'm looking at bringing in. So yeah. And then, so early bird tickets went on sale this week on my 5-year anniversary of living alcohol free. I said, well, this is a perfect time to put it on sale. So here's my really, as I've gone to a ton of conferences, they're very expensive. So because I'm born and raised here and I have a ton of relationships, I work with businesses to sponsor this event. And I have some great sponsors on board. And what that allows me to do is keep the ticket price low. So the early bird price is $199 for everything I just mentioned. I know. Now you got to get yourself here to Kalamazoo. So,
Right.
and I have people come from all over the country, but I've got a great, the Radisson is a beautiful hotel that I'm hosting this at. I have a great room rate for that. So it's not super expensive to come out and spend a couple days here in Kalamazoo. And if you're someone that's like, I thought Kalamazoo was a made up name, no, you will come and see it's real.
So how do people get tickets to your Empower?
Yeah. So go to toniwill.com
Perfect.
and Empower Her is in the drop down. It'll be Empower Her 2026. And you go right there and you can get a ticket and get the information for the hotel and come see me.
Sounds awesome. Okay, one last question before we have to wrap it up. What would you tell your 25-year-old self?
Oh gosh, I love this question. I would tell her, do exactly what you think you want to do. Like, just keep going, Toni. Don't look back. You're going to end up just fine. Just keep going.
Love it. Love it. So how do people get a hold of you again?
So I'm on social media at on LinkedIn at Toni Lentini Will, and then Toni Will Official on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on TikTok as Toni Will, and then my website's toniwill.com.
Perfect. And you also coach, you coach as well?
I do. I coach one-on-one clients who want to reduce or remove alcohol. I also coach clients who want to change their careers and disrupt, maybe midlife, start a business like I did. And then I do group coaching as well around alcohol. So if you're looking for a community, I have a community that we do calls and we do lots of other things. Read books, spotlight authors come in and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got all kinds. It's all on my website.
Oh, perfect. Well, you do so much. So, again, went so fast with us chatting away, and I'm in complete alignment with the way you operate. It is wonderful and inspiring. And thank you so much for your time, Toni.
Thanks, Debbie. It's always good to see you.
Thank you. Have a great opening game.
Thank you.
Tune in each week for another episode of Mastering the Art of Success with host Debbie DiMaggio. Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern. Real stories, real strategies, real success.